Welcome everybody to the Monday night call, and it's like these calls just keep getting better and better, and like people are just continually messaging me and saying, where do you keep finding these amazing speakers from? And like I have my secrets, and I've met Gabrielle a couple of years ago at, just like Bernice, at a NLP practitioner course where we did our 5-day course, and like that was life changing for me, and I'm sure, and I know it was for Gabrielle. But Gabrielle's got this amazing passion, and it's very in line with what we are, and it's into healthy plant-based nutrition. And Gabrielle is a plant-based nutritional coach, and she helps time-poor mums improve their family's health and energy by switching to a plant-based diet. So like Gabrielle made the transition to eating plant-based over a decade ago while juggling a corporate career and young kids. She had a lack of time available, and that forced her to discover a solution for getting food to the table fast while appealing to the little ones and the carnivorous husband. I don't know if anyone can resonate with that. Okay, so I'm going to go off script. Gabrielle has that amazing group, and I'm going to get Gabrielle to take herself off mute in a sec and just take over the airwaves. But I highly recommend that when she lets you know what it is, that you jump in, because it's amazing and it's growing every single day. And I just see it's just got this very similar vibe to what we have, and we've got the most amazing vibe on the planet. And Gabrielle's got her amazing vibe happening as well. So Gab, introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then just take over. Share your wisdom.
Oh, thanks so much, Joel. Hi, everyone. As Joel so kindly suggested, I am a plant-based nutritional coach, and I work with families all over the globe, so online and one-to-one through my programs and one-on-one coaching. And I've been doing this for a while now, so it's as you will know, a lot of you are probably budding entrepreneurs or full-blown entrepreneurs, that it's always changing and evolving, and that's what keeps things really interesting. And I've tried to step away from this a few times when things just got way too demanding. With a young family, I've got 5 kids and a dog and a husband, and juggling that corporate career, it can be really stressful and fraught with all sorts of emotions. So I'm really grateful to be here. I can't step away from this. This is my absolute passion, and I'm so happy to be able to share some of what I believe with you tonight, and I hope that I can add some real value to your knowledge. So I'll just step into it. Let me tell you, I've got plant-based has done a lot of things for me, but one thing it hasn't done is improve my memory. So I still have notes that I like to refer to so that I can pack this full of value and not miss anything. So if I'm glancing down, it's just I'm checking my notes. And what I wanted to cover off tonight, and I hope that this is okay with everybody in the room. My name is Gab, so I do like to talk, and I'm not very good at sticking to time. I normally run over, but I want to honor your time. So we'll get through as much as we can today. So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit about me and my journey, what a healthy plant-based lifestyle is, but also what it isn't. 9 benefits of eating more plants. Is probably way more than that. I just tried to shrink it down. And 6 top tips for getting yourself on the journey. So many of you are probably already, really healthy as well. I know we've got a lot of Juice Plus people in the house or watching the replay. And so I will really want to share some tips that might help wherever you are in your journey, but mostly to get started if this is all new and foreign to you. So does that all sound okay? Yep, okay, getting this, that must mean I'm good to go. All right, so a little bit about me. Let me just bring up my notes so I don't miss anything. So this all started for me about 21 years ago now, which holy schmoly, I don't feel that old. But the reason it started that long ago was I became pregnant with my first child, and I gained a lot of weight. So I'm a farmer's daughter. I grew up on a sheep and beef farm, and I loved the animals, but I used to help my stepdad out every day, feeding the animals and nurturing them and looking after them and understanding what the farming industry and business was. And so when I became pregnant with Mitchell, I was doing all the things that I was supposed to do, right? So I'm eating heaps of meat, like lots of red meat, because that's going to give me heaps of iron and it's going to help the baby flourish. I was drinking lots of dairy and I was eating all the dairy, all the dairy, you know. That was something that it was encouraged by my parents and something that I thought was the right thing to do. So I was drinking big dairy milkshakes, like big thick shakes with ice cream and cow milk and all the rest of it. And I just started to absolutely balloon, and I grew to be over 100 kilos, which baffles me now. I look back at the pictures and, you know, I was really big. And we actually stopped weighing me in at 100 kilos because that was just a number that I didn't want to associate with. Nobody told me I was unhealthy, but I just felt awful. And I had no self-esteem at that point. I was wearing my husband at the time, because I've been married twice, his XXL Steinlager shirt. I remember wearing that and leaving booby marks in it. Like I was really big, but I was also pregnant. So I kept getting told, you know, it's okay, this is part of pregnancy. But then I got hypertension. I ended up in the hypertension clinic. I got all sorts of monitoring, and I was just super low in energy and in self-esteem at that point. So went on to have my beautiful baby, big 9-pound cylinder, and the weight started to shift, but it was very gradual. And everybody told me, you will lose it when you have the baby and start breastfeeding. And it really didn't happen for me that way. I had to go to Weight Watchers. Well, that's what I felt. So a friend of mine at the time said, come along to Weight Watchers, we'll get you sorted, we'll get you back down to your pre-pregnant weight. And that was very slow and gradual. And as soon as I came off Weight Watchers thinking, oh, I know how to do this, I just plateaued. Nothing was moving. So skip forward a wee while and I had 2 more babies. And each time I'm conscious of how big I grew that first time, that I just was very cautious about what I ate, but I was still eating all those things, you know, and the dairy and the meat and the eggs. And I eased off the portion, so I was a little bit better, but I still was gaining weight, and like quite a lot of weight. And so that was really the catalyst. I'm in my early 20s, you know, mid 20s at that point, and I'm just really focused and want to look and feel my best. So I struggled with that quite a bit, but it got my attention. The fact that I eased off on those portions and I didn't gain as much as that first time really got my attention. And I started looking around. I started exploring and doing some online research. Now, there really wasn't a lot around back in those days about plant-based. What I came across was this term of vegan. And back then, if you looked at websites, they're like these GeoCity sites, and they have, you know, bursting stars, and they look really flaky and really hippy dippy. And so I'm on these vegan websites researching everything that I could. I tried to find some scientific information because I'm a research girl, and so I like to have something a little bit more than just what someone wrote on their personal blog. And I started reading about milk and dairy particularly, and then I led on to meat and eggs. And from what I read, I was interested enough to give it a go. And so I did. And it wasn't easy. It was a lot of tears in the kitchen, a lot of takeout when things flopped, a lot of, I don't want to do this, I should just go back to what I was doing. And I powered I had a older son, and then I had 2 really little ones. So we started replacing their chicken nuggets. We started replacing quiches. We started doing all those things, and they were great. I had to One of them was on formula, baby formula at the time. I switched him over to a soy milk formula instead of a cow milk formula. And I found he did better on it. Like there wasn't the, people call it, what's it called, when the baby's really unsettled and everybody says he has this thing. The name eludes me. Told you, bad memory.
Reflux.
But thank you. Reflux, but also other stuff like ear infections, and there is something else that they just chalk it up to being a cranky baby. I can't remember what that is as well, but yeah, they started just getting better, and it got my attention. So we kept going, and that's really just how we did it, sort of one step after the other. My husband was willing to go along with it to see, but he was like my worst critic, because it was all about, what about this, what about that, you haven't researched this enough, you need to go back, you need to tell me about this. And so he kind of kept me on the straight and narrow, and yeah, we managed to continue to eat this way. We've been doing this for, it's been 11 years now, but it started back when I was, back 21 years ago. So that has been my long and slow journey. And that time frame is different for everybody. And it's one of the things that I really stand for. It's part of the manifesto of just don't worry if it takes time. These things do, as long as you're always moving forward. Everybody's journey is different. You can't compare yourself to somebody else, and as long as we want to be over there, we just have to do the work and get through it on our own terms and in our own time. So that is my story. I must admit that I did end up certifying in plant-based nutrition, because I wanted to have a qualification that said, this is, and I wanted to do the research, this is the healthier way to do it. And I came off that course and I certified, and I absolutely loved it. And I was telling everybody I knew. And then my husband said, actually, do you know what, you would, to be a responsible caretaker for this message and a responsible coach, you should actually go and find out about the other side. So I want you to find people who say that dairy and eggs and meat is good for you. And I want you to study them up, and I want you to see where where that falls. You can't just do one thing and profess that it's all amazing. You've got to research the other side too, from a non-biased angle. So I ended up going on to do another course, which was, if you've ever heard of the Western Price, they were very big advocates in lots of meat and dairy and those traditional type of foods. So I did that study as well, and I kind of compared the two at the end of the day, and my mind was not changed. I read the China study by T. Colin Campbell, which is fantastic. I followed Dr. Grieger. I only like to get into the facts and see the research and see where things lay. And, sometimes even at the top, those doctors and those scientists and biochemists, they can't even agree. So I appreciate that this is one person, as a mother, who's coming and saying, some benefits about the lifestyle, but I really encourage you to do your own research. That's the only way that you will truly ever be comfortable, is to research the facts yourself and see where the cards fall. So the journey took me to investigating, veganism, which also bled the lines of plant-based, and also this other thing called whole food plant-based. So what plant-based eating, a healthy plant-based diet to me is centered around whole food. So you're talking about your fruits and veggies, your whole grains, your nuts and seeds. And between those things, you get almost every nutrient that you require. The difference between a whole food plant-based eater and a plant-based eater is that somebody who's plant-based could eat a tube of barbecue Pringles and wash it down with a Coca-Cola, because that's still deemed plant-based because they don't have any animal products in them. However, it's highly processed, it's artificial, and that's not really the message that I promote. I promote a healthy, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So plant-based, you can eat white flour, you can eat white rice, you can eat an abundance of sugar. You can have a lot of processed oil in your diet. and you can still be considered plant-based. But plant-based doesn't necessarily equal healthy, nor does veganism. And so, you know, veganism is when you throw the ethical side in. So a vegan may be a plant-based eater, but they also may be a whole food plant-based eater. And so I think there's some confusion out there, and rightly so, between those three terms. So I just wanted to get really clear on what is the message that I promote, and that is a whole food plant-based lifestyle. I also happen to be vegan as well. Okay, so moving on, unless there's any questions at this point, but the top 9 benefits of eating more plants. So as I said before, there are a whole heap of benefits, and I've just tried to really distill them in the big takeouts that they were for me. And by going through this, it can perhaps cover a few of the common objections as well. Take a sip of my water here. So when you eat more plants, you feel alive. That was the biggest thing that I noticed right from the start when I started eating more of the healthy stuff. So because they are full of fiber, you're going to get more regular, and that regularity is going to flush toxins from the body. So that's one big benefit just in that energy. Your body's not going to be breaking down foods that's hard for the body to assimilate in, you know, complex proteins and carbohydrates, because it's all from a plant source. So yes, you can still have that complexity in plant-based foods, but it goes through the body and it gets digested by the body a lot faster. So if you've ever felt sort of that bloating, unheaviness and that weight, you know, it doesn't really happen. And so you process that energy a lot faster. It hits that bloodstream and you get a spike and a surge of energy. And that is something that will get your attention, I promise you, and that will help you. It will be a healthy indicator for whether this lifestyle is right for you. And I try not to call it a diet, because a lifestyle is long term, and so it's not temporary. As I said before, it can take years and years and years for this journey. So it's not like by the time I've hit a certain weight, it's over, I'm going back. I really encourage this to be a lifelong dietary change, which then becomes a lifestyle. Okay, so benefit number 2, when you eat more plants, you eat in abundance. And remember I told you I'd tell you about that thing before? I just lost all that weight. It was just dripping off and I couldn't keep weight on. It's because I wasn't following this. I was all focused on what I have to take out, because I didn't plan anything properly. I just went cold turkey, 100%. That's what I want to do. And I just stopped buying, you know, meat and dairy and eggs. And so then I looked around at what was left, and we're talking like, you know, pastas and quick convenience foods. That was what was left when I didn't think with an abundant mindset. So rather than focus on all the things that plant-based eating takes away, if you focus on all the new opportunities that open up from eating this way. So do you know how many varieties of fruit and vegetables there are that you've probably never even tried? We're talking about spice configurations that would blow your mind that you probably haven't tried. Herbs you haven't tried. All those flavor additives in a healthy form that will really just give your food the power and the taste and a sense of smell, the touches, senses that you probably never really received just from eating a standard American diet. So, you know, when you look at a steak and it's covered in sauce, a steak, if you just ate it on its own, doesn't actually tend to have a lot of flavor. It's the sauce that gives it the flavor. And it's the same kind of goes for plant-based. Like you can have your standard carbohydrates, but then you can infuse it with all of your spices and the textures of nuts and seeds and all that rich goodness and the abundance. That's what we need to focus on if we're going to not feel deprived and if we're going to actually turn this into a lifestyle. And it's a big benefit. And I think it's one that is grossly overlooked because we're constantly focusing on what not to do, not on all the opportunities that are, you know, to expand our mind. So that is number 2. Number 3 is when you eat more plants, you add a line of defense to chronic illness and disease. So I'm not saying this, I am not a doctor, do your own research, but the research that I've uncovered and the stuff that is cited by science is that this lifestyle, a healthy, whole food, plant-based lifestyle, protects us from getting some types of cancers. It can reverse diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity, you know, that diminishes when you switch to this way of eating. And a lot of autoimmune diseases, the symptoms just fall away. And a lot of people I know have and coached have corrected and reversed those kinds of things. So there is a power to it. And, you know, the power really is in nature. The power is back to the plants. And I just love hearing the stories about how people made these reversals. And unfortunately for me, I lost too many people in my family to chronic disease that I wish, you know, it makes me more passionate now. That's one of the things that means I can't hang this up. I'll do a talk and I'll get a message to someone from breast cancer who made the change, things improved, you know, and it just keeps me hanging on and keeps me super passionate about this way of eating. All right, benefit number 4, when you eat more plants, you'll lose weight easily. So as I said before, the weight loss, a lot of people go through the spike. So you want to take away a lot of the foods, but then you're not adding in. So it comes back to the previous point earlier. And so what ends up happening is you have a calorie deficit and you will start to lose weight. And so a lot of people who go vegan or plant-based or whole food plant-based, they drop a lot of weight and they go, wow, this is amazing. But then as they learn more and they start incorporating more in, and not always the good stuff, they start realizing that there's these raw vegan cakes that they can eat, and Oreos, you can eat those and they're plant-based, and you know, all these other lovely delicious things. And what happens is that their weight starts creeping up again, and they can find themselves actually over where they began in weight, and they start going, oh, this is baloney, what am I doing wrong? And a lot of them realize that at that point it's the whole food part that's missing. But you will lose weight a lot more easily, you know, in the beginning if you are following a healthy whole food plant-based lifestyle, but you will also keep it off. So you don't want to be one of these junk food vegans, junk food plant-based, that drop, go, oh my God, what do I eat? Come back up, pile in the sugar, the oil, the salt, all that stuff, all that processed stuff, and the weight piles back on. Healthy whole food will get you back to your natural weight, and that is where you will sustain it. And I have sustained mine for a good 10 plus years now. So there is a method to this madness, and that is following a whole food plant-based way of eating. All right, so I need to check in with you guys. Oh, there's something, you're still here. I just moved my slides. You're here. Hello. I'm gonna have a sip of water. All right. More benefits. So when you eat more plants, you get the glow, because plants are highly alkaline. And so you're going to reduce your overall inflammation that's in your body. And I know that can sound a little bit woo right now, but once you start researching what phytonutrients are and how much of those phytonutrients are in plant-based foods and how much aren't in that other stuff, so the meat, the eggs, the dairy, you kind of really catch on. So your dark circles will go, the white of your eyes will pop, your skin will clear, your nails will grow, your hair will become a lot less thin, you know, and you will start seeing it showing up in the mirror. And it's probably going to be people before you notice that actually comment on, what have you done? So I love that you get that all the time. So what have you changed? Something different about you. I can't quite pinpoint it. And so that's those phytonutrients at work. So we're talking all those leafy, dark leafy greens. That's the stuff that we want to be focusing on, not on the refined stuff, not on the pastas and the sugars and, you know, the white carbs. You want to be focusing on complex carbs, on nuts and seeds and all that lovely avocado. That's the healthy fat for your body. It's going to make your nails grow. So carotenoids as well. So the red, yellow and orange, the color of the foods, that's when they're high in those. And you know, you're responsible for choosing those foods to make you flourish and be an example for the lifestyle on the outside. You'd be like a walking business card because everybody wants to know what you've changed. Everybody wants to know the way you eat. And as long as you can avoid the preach and just tell people what you're doing and let them pull the information from you, everybody's going to want a piece of what you're embodying and what you're showing up in the world looking like. It's incredible. Okay, so when you eat more plants, you save money. So this is normally a big objection, and this is the benefit number 6. So they call it peasant food for a reason. A lot of people around the world who don't have a lot of money in third world conditions, they eat this type of food. So it is, as long as you're, not necessarily buying all those transitional products, so those mock cheeses and meats, which are highly processed and full of crap and sodium and things anyway, and preservatives, and you're sticking to a whole food plant-based way of eating. How cheap is brown rice? You go and you buy a head of broccoli and you compare that to a chicken. You look at the cost of a good healthy cut of steak, and you compare that to some of the foods that we can eat on a plant-based healthy diet, and the prices will take care of themselves. So that there is an initial there tends to be, depending on your approach, an initial surge in cost as you stock your pantry full of the plant-based essentials. But once your pantry is sorted, you're done. And then you just can shop and buy bulk. You can make sure you shop in season. There's lots of things that we can do to avoid heavy overpriced produce and costs, that if you just take the time to stock that pantry up and get those flavors going, you understand how spices can infuse your food and make it taste better, healthy sauces and dressings. That stuff doesn't really cost a lot of money. So I urge you to check it out next time you're at the supermarket and go and do some comparisons, and take with you a recipe with ingredients of a whole food plant-based meal, and then you compare that to something that is more of a traditional meal, and you'll find more often than not, if the pantry stuff is organized, you're actually winning. It doesn't cost that much more. Okay, point number 7, when you eat more plants, your taste buds change. So a lot of people think that, oh my God, I'm going to make all this amazing food and I'm going to eat that for the rest of the time. But then they start getting cravings, and they start, pining for chocolate bars and chips and all those old flavors and foods, because we've been oversaturating our taste buds for so long. The food industry knows how much sugar to put into our food so that it hits that pleasure point where the brain starts going, oh, this tastes so good, and we want more and more of it because we'll spend more buying it next time, therefore it's all profit. The same with oil. And this stems back to our lizard brain days of where we just want calories and we want to do as less as possible for those calories because food was scarce. But in a modern day world where there's this overabundance of heavily processed foods, it's just saturated in all this stuff, we're forgetting to eat from nature. We are telling our taste buds and we're training them to enjoy the taste of that food. So it takes about 3 weeks to start to get your taste buds enjoying that bitterness that can come with leafy greens, and get you with that bland. It can sometimes feel bland when you first go there, the bland taste of rice. But over that transitional period of those first few weeks, if you can stick with it, you'll actually find that you end up craving the healthy foods. I kid you not, you'll crave them and you won't want to. You have a Coke, or you'll pop a lid of Pringles because you think, oh, well, I've been plant-based for this long. Let's just try it. It's a bit of a treat. And you won't like it anymore. And that happens all the time. And I can give you non-plant-based examples of your taste buds changing. So have you ever switched from like a whole fat cow milk to a skim milk? And in the beginning, you just really hate it. And, you can taste the difference and it makes it all unenjoyable. But if you stick with it, if someone pours whole fat milk into your coffee or your breakfast cereal, you notice. Another example might be where you've gone from having 2 teaspoons of sugar to no sugar in a coffee, say. That's a common one. And then when you do finally have 2 teaspoons of sugar because someone made it wrong for you or you forgot, it's really clear that that is no longer the way. You don't like that taste anymore, and you can't believe you used to do that. Switching from full Coke, to Diet Cokes. Started off, it sucked, But then you have a swig of Coke after a while, and you're like, oh, give me the Diet Coke, you know. So not exactly healthy examples, but probably examples that some of us have experience with. God forbid I used to smoke, going from a full strength cigarette to weak ones, and then you take that whiff in of a full powered cigarette, and it tastes absolutely disgusting. You know, again, not exactly healthy examples, but more probably real life examples that people can relate to. Your taste buds will change. Give them time. If you are a food addict and you are drowning in sugar and oil and salt, the best way to ease into this transition is to do a green juice or green smoothie fast. That is the fastest way to cut it. You do 3 days of nothing but green juices and green smoothies, and then you eat an apple. I promise you that that taste of that apple will be absolute heaven, because your taste buds have changed. They've already adapted. You're just happy to eat again. All right, moving on. We're almost at the end. So benefit number 8, when you eat more plants, you become more educated and aware. So this was a big thing for me, is when everything that I was learning was opposing everything I was conditioned as a child, everything my parents were saying, everything the advertising was telling me, and even the government bodies are saying you must eat this. Look at our healthy pyramid. You should have meat. You should have eggs. You should have all this stuff. When I started finding out that that was a load of toss, that it opened my mind of, oh, what else have I been lied to about? You know, what else could I find out for myself? What else is possible that I've been told is impossible? Which is an absolute mind changer. Like it blows my mind to think of that time, because I wasn't just allowing myself to sort of go along with what people were telling me anymore. I'd hear their point of view, but then I'd go research the difference. And that was just amazing to me, because the growth that came from that shift, and this moves me into number 9 of the benefits, was it's not just about the food. It's actually, when you start learning about what you put in your mouth and the effects that has on your shrine, your body, your temple, and you start questioning what we've always thought and always known to be true, it triggers something like really spiritual. I don't want to sound like I'm getting woo, because I still don't meditate. I still don't do a lot of aromatherapy. I don't necessarily buy into all that, because I haven't checked the science, but it triggered something very deep, and I started finding Tony Robbins, and I started going to his events, and that led me to NLP. And so then Joel led me to that training and hypnotherapy, which was a jumping board from there. And so it really did trigger this spiritual journey that I am on. So, and it all came back to what I was putting on my fork, what I was putting on my plate. And it's so exciting, because I'm only just scratching the surface of what there is to know. And I just have this thirst for learning now. And I hope that I can shortcut that for my kids, because we're talking about all this stuff now. They didn't have to wait till they were 27 to start having that awakening. And even later for me, they get to do it now. And that means they can make different choices that I made. That means they can evolve better than what, and faster than what I did. And it's just this positive spiral effect. And I'm so happy for it. All right, last one. Let me take another sip of water. This is a bonus tip, because if you've been counting, we've already done the 9. It awakens your libido. And this is completely true for a lot of people. It's not just from my experience. It is something that if you do some research, you'll find it happens a lot. There's something that happens when you change your food. You become more sensitive. You become, if you have been somebody who, I won't get too into this, but if you've been someone who thought that your libido was dead, it's gone, you're just not into that, change your diet and see and find out what happens. It's a very interesting test. And when you do the test, message me, because I want to hear about your results. It's not something that people talk about all the time, but I needed to throw that in there as a bit of a bonus benefit. Some women are probably rolling their eyes going, there's no benefit to that, but I beg to differ. All right. Do we want to stop for any questions? Joel, are you still here? Oh, there you are, Joel. I'll just keep on moving, conscious of time. So here's my biggest 5 tips to get started, okay? If you've liked what you've heard, you want to give it a go. First tip, trial it. You know, don't say I'm going to go all in. This is fantastic. Just try it for yourself. Everybody is different. Everybody reacts a different way. Everybody's lifestyle is different. You know, what you've got going on in your commitments might mean that you can't do everything the right way. And so that you end up, I don't want you to end up depleted in, you know, essential vitamins and minerals because we didn't do this right. So you've got to trial it. So the first tip is pick a date that you want to trial it. Know your why, because that's going to get you through the tough times. So write down why you want to try it. And then tip number 2, once you've decided to try it, get your baseline bloods done. So you go to your doctor, because the only way to work out if you're getting better with this way of eating is to have some baseline information. The data will tell you if you get those bloods scheduled and done. So you pick your date, you go, yep, I'm going to trial it, pick my date, and make sure there's enough time to visit the doctor, get the blood test results, and find out what that means. Because we don't want, you know, like I say, we don't want you just running off, trying it and going, this sucks, like, and then you end up telling everybody else how bad it worked for you because you felt tired and you felt depleted. You probably already have vitamin and mineral deficiencies now. If you're rolling with the standard American diet, there's probably, you know, the standard Western diet, you're probably already depleted in things now. So get it checked, get, you know, a plan in place for addressing those deficiencies, and then go and make the changes to your food. I can't stress that highly enough. I encourage all my clients to do this, and then we talk together and we read them together, because a lot of doctors aren't into this stuff, right? They study like 2 modules of nutrition at GP physician school. They don't necessarily know. Things are catching on a lot faster than traditional medicine now, and we need to take control of our own health, learn how to read and interpret our own blood results, and then we measure. So once you've got those baselines, then you can go get tested every 3 months. Every 3 months, compare, okay? So that's my tip number 2 for getting started, is get the baseline data. Then you're informed. Then you're not ignorant and you're doing it right. Tip number 3, pick where to begin. So don't be like me. Don't go necessarily, unless you want to, the whole hog, the full Monty. I'm going to get rid of all animal products and that's it, because it's a really big undertaking. It does require a bit of research to do that if you're going to do it in a healthy way. So what I suggest now to all my coaching clients is to pick one, and there are 4 top ones to begin with. That this isn't all the animal products, but it's a good base coverage, and it's easy, right? It's easy to think of foods in this way. So you've got milk, eggs, cheese, because that's a big one for people, and meat. And if you manage to eradicate or eliminate or stop eating as much of those 4 things, you're going to be 3/4 of the way there. Yes, there are additives and preservatives that they throw in that's not plant-based, but that's you know, that's detail. We could just cover off these top 4 in any order that you want. So a lot of people start with milk, because a lot of people are lactose intolerant already. So they start with milk. So pick where you want to begin: milk, eggs, meat, cheese, and then work out how you want to do it. You know, do you want to phase milk out? If you pick milk, do you want to phase that out completely? Or do you want to go, you know, on a phased approach? So completely cold turkey or phase it out. And so a lot of people might mix, you know, their milk 50-50. I'll put 50% of cow milk on my cereal that I always have, and 50% of my plant-based nut milk. You know, they might do that. And then they're slowly getting their, training their taste buds to a different, a less, more confronting taste bud change. So you could do that. So tip number 3 for getting started, pick which one you want to begin with, and then how you want to do that one, and then just start there. Start there. So tip number 4, I've actually got 6 tips. I think one's a recurring. Yeah, that's okay. One's the ongoing. So tip number 4 is find the appropriate substitute for that thing. So you've picked it, Now you want to figure out, how am I going to substitute that? Sometimes there isn't any substitute, you know, like maybe let's stop looking for substitutes as well. So I use that term very loosely, but if it's the milk and you always have milk and coffee, if you always have milk on a cereal or in some oats, if you do a lot of baking, you bake with milk, just try and find an alternative that you could use to switch that out. And then it's a matter of trying them. If we want to use milk and take that to the nth degree, you've got you got nut milks, you've got oat milk, you've got rice milk. There's a whole lot of ones that you could choose from. So find the right substitute, the one that you want to try or ease out of that with, and start there. A good tip to remember is that a fat is a fat. So if it's butter that you want to replace, you might go for replacing butter on your toast for a healthy butter. So that could be a nut butter, or it could be avocado. You know, those are healthy sources of fat that are going to give you some bang for your nutritional buck. Okay, next tip is track. Chronometer. So that's spelled CHRONOMETER. Joel, maybe you'll be so kind as to throw the link in there. Chronometer, it's the American spelling, but that's sort of a way of, and you don't have to do this forever, it's just when you're starting out, typing in everything that you're eating and drinking, and then it will show you on your minerals and your vitamins and all of your makeup in what your blood test results show. It's going to show you how you're faring. So it's going to say you're getting enough, you know, vitamin X, you know, A, B, whatever, or you're not getting enough of this, you're not getting enough zinc, you're deficient here in this day. So then you can do some research and go, what are some plant-based foods that can help me supplement that, so that then you can make changes over time. So that is my fifth tip, is tracking, because if you're not tracking, you're flying blind and you're not going to know. And it's all about being the best person to know how your health is without having to run off to the doctor every 5 minutes. So it's empowering yourself to take control of this. It's your health, and that if we don't have our health, we've got nothing, right? We've got nothing. And so the bonus tip to get started then is to review and modify and repeat that whole process. So once you've eradicated milk, you're down with that. It's all good. Your taste buds have caught up. Almond milk is your one of choice. You know, then we move on. Okay, which one do we want to focus on next? Meat. Okay, we're going to have a meat-free meal every night, you know, and just slowly start moving that out of your life. And then you can rinse, repeat, and go through all of these steps until you're moving forward, right? At a level that is right, fit for your lifestyle and what you've got going on in your busy everyday world. That's it. I've covered it all, and I'm ahead of time. I'm pretty chuffed about that.
You are. Look, we've had some great questions in the chat. I don't know if you can see those. Would you like me to read?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking. Okay. Chat was going on. Okay. Sorry, colic. Yes, colic. Everyone was telling me colic. Let me just catch up here. You all want the glow. This is awesome. Thanks, Kylie. Favorite brand of spices: turmeric, paprika, cumin. Yes, and not everybody likes coriander, but coriander is a really good staple to keep in your cupboards as well. Some people have that gene, you know, like the Brussels sprout gene. They just either love coriander or they hate it. I actually started laughing in the beginning when people were telling me they hate coriander. I was like, what? Is that a thing? Turns out it's a thing. But I love it, so it's a common one. Juice cleanse now. Yes, juice cleansers, awesome. Pete will want me to start tomorrow, Penny. Okay. Right, how does one change a child of age 6 who loves meat and fussy with vegetables to start changing over? Great question, Penny. So, all right, I'll try and give you the short answer. You've got to find out what they like. And this is not just about a taste thing, it's also about a textural thing, because a lot of kids get a gag reflex when they have certain textures. And the thing that I have going, I created this just for this problem, is that I call it the fuss pot to fan meal challenge. So I've scored with my family. My family have been plant-based for a long time. So I just pulled in, and they don't love vegetables. Like they actually, I joke with them that they're the only vegans who hate vegetables, because we still have to work around their tastes, their taste profile. So what I found was I brought all these recipes in, and we just started trialing what they liked, and we got scoring sheets out. And this was a fun game. Like, it actually really helped bring a focus to the food and a connection with my family. So at mealtime, everybody got a scoring sheet. We ate this meal because, come on guys, you're on this challenge. And we ate, and they scored. And they scored from 1 to 5, and I gave them what 1 meant, what 5 meant, and all the grades in between. And why? If they hated it, why did they hate it? They had to give me specific feedback. And so when everybody was done scoring and everyone had eaten whatever they were trying of that meal, they went around the room and they read out their results. And this gave me so much insight into what they liked, because I was just guessing otherwise. And most kids, if you present food to them that's new in a way, they're going to hate it. You know, because it's our lizard brain trying to keep us safe. Our lizard brain will just go, nah, never seen that. That looks dodgy. I'm not trying it. And you've already lost them. But if you can go, hey guys, this is a challenge. This is what I want us to start doing. Are you on board with me? Yes. This is what this means. And we're going to start scoring, and I'm going to start learning about what you like. And so that's a big key, is learning what they like and what they don't like. I could go on about this forever. I've got so many tips, but the best thing you can do is join the challenge, because it's going to give you all the tips that I have found. And my kids are, what are they now? I've got 20, heading on to 21, 12, 11, 10, and 7. And we've been doing this all those years and all the stuff in between. So I've now started tackling the problem of when my eldest brings a girl home. What does she doesn't eat this way, but the rest of us do? What are we feeding her? You know, how can we get her enjoying a meal when she's, you know, not part of our family unit in terms of eating? So yeah, I've got lots of tips for you. I'm not a big proponent or a professor of trying to sneak foods in with kids, because you're just losing out. You're losing out on all that critical feedback. If they find out that you snuck food in, they're going to hate you later. Like, I found out my mum was putting cow tongue in my sandwiches growing up, and that stuck out to me, because first, that's disgusting. And second, I didn't like that she wasn't being honest with me about what I was eating. And yeah, hope that helps. Love to get rid of sugar. Yep, do a juice fast or smoothie fast to help you make that transition. And then you can use healthy whole food forms of sugar, Leslie. So dates, they're a great one. You can sweeten all sorts of baking with dates. Date syrup, you can start buying that at your local supermarket as well. Molasses, that's another healthy whole food sweetener. Lots of different tips and tricks to get you off the sugar, but the first thing you've got to do is starve your taste buds of the taste of processed and refined sugar. Have my own chooks. Eggs okay. Lisa, you know, I don't like to say things are okay or not okay. If you're following a whole food plant-based lifestyle, you don't eat eggs, because eggs you get very little nutritional bang for your buck, your cholesterol buck there. So I've got lots of fact sheets and information on eggs. If you want, feel free to message me. I'll hook you up from a physician, from physicians. Like, that's all I really follow, because I like to know why. You know, I just don't like to be told. I like to know why. I know chooks, a lot of plant-based eaters feed their eggs, the chickens' eggs, to the chooks, which is really good for them. So that's one way that they make that change without wasting that food. And everything in moderation, you know, like, maybe don't start with eggs. If you're interested, just start adding in leafy greens, adding in whole grains. Try to eliminate sugar and add in other healthy forms of those whole food sugars I've mentioned before. That'll be good. What's the issue with eggs? in our system. So penny, as I mentioned, they're really high in cholesterol, and they really don't give you, and that's a bad cholesterol, and they don't really give you any nutrition. So that's why I steer clear of eggs. And let's not forget the fact that it's the menstruation cycle of a chicken. So I really struggled to quit eggs. They were my go-to, like eggs, scrambled eggs on a Sunday breakfast. But what put me off was seeing the life cycle of how an egg forms, so that the shell is the very last thing that goes on, and it's actually a monthly kind of period trigger for a chicken that kind of just grossed me out, and they lost me completely. Eggs were no longer a problem after that. Yeah, Chronometer, Brendan. Thank you for sharing the link, Joel, to Chronometer. It's a great tracking tool. You don't have to track forever, but start off, it's responsible. Okay, cool. Is wild rice healthier than brown rice? Oh, I think wild rice is great, and brown rice is great. There has been Dr. Grieger talks about arsenic that's been found in some types of brown rice. So there's this big push in some areas now, some pockets of healthy eating, to only look for organic brown rice. Rinse it off. But yeah, the wild rice and brown rice, I would put them on equal footing. I have black rice a lot, and wild rice too. Those are all good whole food sources of rice. Right. Got through some of those questions. Any other questions?
Speak up, guys. What do you do about vitamin B12?
Yeah, so that's the one vitamin that you won't get on this dietary lifestyle change. You have to supplement B12. So I either, what I do with the kids, we just squirt it under their tongue. You can get it from a pharmacy. They love it. They think it's a game when I squirt it, and they all try to dodge it, and it's all, oh my God, not the spray, but it lifts the morning spirit. So it's just a spray. You can inject. You can go to your doctor and get regular B12 injections if you don't want to have to be taking it regularly. But the reason why we don't have the B12, it forms in the guts and the intestines of the animals that eat the plants. So that's why we don't get it. That's why we need to supplement it. So you definitely grab a B12 supplement. If you want me to share with you the one that we use, happy to just PM me. If you can't think of any questions now and they come to you later, hit me up, or join the group, and there's lots of questions, lots of more knowledgeable people in there as well that can also help answer your questions.
You're getting heaps of questions now.
Sorry, I don't want to miss anyone. Children moving over to plant-based diet, how do you help them with going to school? Oh yeah, lunch boxes. That was a very confronting change initially for me, because they want to keep up with what their friends have. And I'll just share with you a really quick story. One time I got a call from the vice principal at our children's school saying, hey, just wanted to check with you. We've asked your child Otis why he's not coming to school with lunch boxes, and we only noticed that he's not because he's borrowing food off his other friends. So when we finally found out what was going on, he was trading Pokemon cards. I was sending him with a lunchbox every day to school, and he was trading Pokemon cards with his friends to get their snack foods. So that was when we changed up the lunchbox system at home. I asked them again, children involvement, what are the foods that you love to eat? What are the sort of things? And then we just veganized those options. And that's what they go to school with now. Every once in a while, we do tuck shop. That's a treat. But we're really lucky that the school that they go to do have plant-based options. They're not healthy options like wedges, hash browns, sandwiches, just like plain old Nuttalex and jam sandwiches. But they love feeling like they're at one with their peers, that they can have tuck shop too. So I've got lots of tips and tricks there as well. I don't have any issues with iron. So I was always told I was anemic before I made the change. They wanted to give me a blood transfusion when I was still eating meat. So I take, trying to remember the name of it. The best iron that I take now is in a liquid form. The name eludes me. I told you I have a bad memory. And I buy it in sachets. I drink it. I mix it with a little bit of apple juice to neutralize the taste. Otherwise, it tastes like drinking blood. And it goes straight into my bloodstream. No constipation like iron pills. No iron problems. And if you take your iron, whether it's through your food and you're eating the non-heme iron through food, eat it or drink it with vitamin C. It actually binds to the iron and it helps absorption rate. So you want to have vitamin C with your iron to make sure that you don't have any iron issues. Savory, yeah, savory yeast flakes. That's what gives you that cheesy umami flavor to your food. So cheese sauces, oh my God, you have to have those savory yeast flakes. They're also called nooch, Nooch. That's the non-technical term, also called nutritional yeast flakes. So that's a plant-based person's go-to for umami flavor. And they have B12. A lot of the time they're fortified with B12. Oh, a group name. Yeah, we can. Thank you, Joel. I see you've shared the group. It's Plant Body Solution Community. So if you just type that in or the link there, you can come through. There's a couple of questions to verify you're not a troll, and then you can come on in. Protein source. How much do you think we need? Very active lifestyle, lots of exercise. Yeah. Okay. So if you look up the podcast of Rich Roll, R-I-C-H is his first name, Roll, R-O-L-L. He is an athlete, top plant-based athlete. He has a whole lot of athletic type, because that's not my niche market, but he's a really good one to watch for that. You can get your protein every other way, in every other form. So with your tofu, with your legumes, you know, there's protein in cruciferous vegetables and in your leafy greens. So you just need to find out the right mix for you, depending on your level of exertion when you're being very active. Are there other supplements? No, you don't need to take other supplements. I say that if you don't live in a sunny climate, you can always go and get your sun vitamin in a pharmaceutical form if you want to. But if you can spend, 10 minutes out in the sun, and that changes depending on where you are, you're going to get your vitamins that way from the sun. The only other one you might want to look at is focusing on your omegas, and you can do that through flax. So I grind up some linseeds, are also called flax seeds, grind them up, put them on your cereal, put them in your food. You're going to get your omegas, your fatty acids that way. Yes, recipe books I could totally recommend. Leslie, How Not to Die. It's not a recipe book, but I think everybody should read it. Dr. Michael Greger. Now, How Not to Die talks a lot about all the different ailments that our lifestyles can cause if we're not eating healthy. What I love about Dr. Greger, and they've just come out, I think he's just come out with an accompaniment cookbook. In fact, I think I have it. I just haven't made any of the meals yet. So he does have an accompaniment recipe book, but How Not to Die is because Dr. Greger is not paid for profit. He's totally not-for-profit. I love that about him. There's not many people doing that you will find. And so to me, that's an unbiased, impartial. He trawls through all the science. He concatenates all the research, and he'll tell you what all these research studies mean. And he's got heaps of free resources, videos. He's my go-to. So if I will have a question like savory yeast flakes, vitamin B12, I'll just type that into his website, which is nutritionalfacts.org. And I just, Dr. Greger is my go-to for science-based research and evidence. I don't know what ashwagandha, how do you say that, Brandon? Ashwagandha?
It's ashwagandha.
Thank you. I have never heard of that. What is that? Is Brandon on the call? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to go and look it up after this. Yeah, Brendan, correct. Yeah, the body doesn't have to digest and extract proteins and vitamins and minerals by breaking down dense, acidic animal foods. It gets straight into the bloodstream. It gets assimilated much faster. So I actually struggled to digest meat when I was eating it because maybe it's because I'm a type A blood type, but my apparently, you know, what the blood A type is has a shorter, longer nutritional tract, and so I would really struggle to digest those animal foods. So I would have swelling and, you know, tummy aches and stuff like that after a big meal. So when I did eat red meat, I couldn't eat big amounts of it at the time anyway. So just by switching to plant-based, I could eliminate all of that discomfort. You might get a bit of discomfort when you start eating beans if you have an unhealthy gut. So I also have lots of information on how all the things you can do to create a good, healthy gut garden so that your guts are going to not pay you back with belly bloating and swelling and farting and all that carry on. Don't stop eating the beans. You got to keep eating the beans. You'll get used to it. It'll help you be able to process those foods, but you might go through a little bit of that kind of discomfort when you start incorporating more beans into your life. But that's a whole other subject for another day. I used to take certain enzymes before meat. Oh, Penny, that's interesting. Don't spill the beans. Cool. I think.
So Christine asked a question. Can you recommend a good probiotic?
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, you want one with the more strains, the better. So what I did when I chose, I'm just trying to think of the one that I take. I can share later the name of it. It's one that I have all the kids take. But you want more strains of the probiotic, and what you can do. I know a lot of, if you go to a pharmacy, they sometimes have a naturopath that come, or not a naturopath come in, and you can start asking them questions about the right one for you. I have the names I can send and link you later, but you caught me a bit off guard with remembering the name of that one. The ones that you keep in the fridge tend to be the better ones. That again means that they've got a higher makeup of those strains, and that's the one that you want. So you can also get it naturally. You can build a good, healthy gut garden through eating, your fermented foods. I've never really gone there to fermented foods myself, but you can eat all those pickles and whatnot to also help get that healthy probiotic into your gut.
Amazing. Well, if no one has anyone got any other questions? All right, I'm going to ask mine. So, Gabrielle, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
My own personal superpower. I've got a few. Can I have a few?
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, good. So self-awareness. If something happens, I'm always the first one to turn it back on myself and think, what did I do? Again, it's that cause and effect thing, I think, Joel, that we learnt on in NLP is, how can I learn from this? What was my stake in this? Why am I processing that information that way to feel offended? Anything that's negative that bubbles up in my life, I'm really quick to just turn that around and start to think about myself and my processing, and it gives me my power back and means that I'm living a happier life because of that ability. So self-awareness is something that I stress with the kids so much. And so why might you feel that way? Why do you think he's bullying you? What could be going on in his life, just to try to get them thinking about other people and being self-aware about their awareness, and asking all the questions. So to ask lots of questions. So self-awareness and compassion, and the compassion for me, for other people, for other things in life is what drives me. And so I think that's my superpower, is being able to step into another person and what their challenges might be, and being compassionate and then having the empathy that goes with that. And it's just really helped me live a kind lifestyle, and one that's more congruent with my own values, because that's what was missing before for me. Before I changed the food on my plate, and I always had those questions. I tried to go vegetarian for a while when I was at the farm, and Mum said, well, we all eat meat here. You'll just have to suffer. You'll have to starve. I was questioning things back then. And when I look back now at how I was as a child, a lot of that seems to be, my values were always there, and now I've just tried to find a way in my adult life to play to my values, and I'm happier as a result.
Amazing. All right, here's the final one. If you had a billboard and the entire world could see it, what would your message to the world be?
Oh, I would really, the message that not really people are talking about, that I would want people to know, is that food isn't food. It's a catalyst for change, for deep personal transformation and change. And if we can just focus on that, which feels really doable, you know, what am I eating? The spiral effect of the impact that you have, it just transcends, and everything becomes clear and worthwhile. So that would be my billboard, Joel.
That's amazing. Well, this has been so enlightening and so amazing. JD, do you have a question?
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for a person with an allergy to yeast?
Yeast. So we're talking about not savory yeast flakes. We're talking about yeast that's in bread.
Any yeast.
Well, I think
have yeast under the skin. A lot of berries have yeast under the skin. Can't eat potatoes that haven't been peeled.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I actually hadn't heard of that. You got me intrigued. I would say having an intolerance to yeast, that could be a good thing, because a lot of unnecessary calories are consumed by eating foods filled with yeast, which packs on the pounds and can make us and contribute to obesity and all those other sorts of things. So I'm not sure how you would, I'm not sure if this is you, JD, or someone you know.
No, it's my wife.
Okay, so you can get living breads at, you know, Ray Organics and things like that, where it's sprouted wheat based type of breads. So if that's one of the yeast forms that you want to supplement, I would look at that. For the other things, I hadn't heard of yeast being under the skin of berries and whatnot. But does that happen if it's organic as well, like organic berries and organic potatoes?
Yes, it's a natural occurrence.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one, JD. So I'd have to do a bit of research, or I'd even turn to good old Dr. Michael Greger on his website and find out a bit more about that. That's where I'd be going after this, to find out, because I love these questions. If I can't answer them, I want to go learn more. So yeah, I can come back to you, JD, or you can check out Dr. Michael Greger's nutritionalfacts.org and see if he says anything about coping in life with that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Gabrielle, for joining us tonight. This has been so enlightening, and I don't know, like, I think that you're a hit here, actually. So I think that I'm going to have to invite you and coach you back on to give us another lesson on this amazing knowledge that you've got. Like, so thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I'm going to watch this again, and just brought us so much value. So yeah, guys, everyone go crazy in the chat if this has been amazing. Come on. Let's go crazy. Thank you so much. You got people cheering you. And
oh, thanks so much, Joel. Thanks everyone for having me. I'd love to come back one day.
Thank you very much.